Hello and welcome to today's Flipgrid live event. I'm Sophia from Team Flipgrid. Today we are joined by the #1 New York Times bestselling author Kelly Yang to celebrate Asian American Heritage Month. Before we get started, let me just say if you don't know what Flipgrid is, it's a free video discussion platform from Microsoft, and we are on a mission to empower everyone on the planet to share their voice and respect the diverse voices of others. And that's why we are so excited about today's event. Kelly Yang uses her gift of writing to amplify Asian American stories that have helped shape the United States. Her most recent book, Yes, We Will, is about the Asian American changemakers inspiring the dreamers of tomorrow. So let's meet Kelly now. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, I am so happy to be here with everyone. This is so exciting, and I see so many of you guys joining in from all over the world. I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Lafretto's first grade class in Connecticut, as well as Marbrook Elementary in Delaware. I see people from New York, San Francisco, where I lived for many, many years, Wisconsin, Massachusetts, and even Egypt. Welcome. So I am super excited to be talking about my newest book, Yes, We Will, and this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to be reading from this book, which is my first picture book ever. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I started writing it, the inspiration behind it, and then we will take a selfie together and we will go into, we will have Sophia come back on and we'll go into Q&A. Okay, so you guys ready? Let's get started. All right. Okay, so Yes, We Will is the name of my new picture book. It is a picture book about Asian American heroes, and it is the first picture book ever about Asian American heroes published by a major publisher. And the reason I started writing this book was because I wanted a book like this for my daughter. Her name is Nina, and she is only 9 years old, and I wanted a book like this for her so that we could read it together and she could find out about all the amazing things she can do when she grows up. But I could not find a book like this anywhere on the market. I looked all over online, I looked all over in the bookstore, and I couldn't find a book like this. So I decided to write one. Now I'm super excited to read it with you guys. So let's get started. A long time ago, our ancestors came to this land to build a better life, to build a better future. We have in this picture the 20,000 Chinese American immigrants who built the transcontinental railroad, allowing us to connect the cities on the East Coast with the newer cities on the West Coast. And this was actually an extremely difficult endeavor because there were some really hard conditions that they had to work through, like really cold winters, snow falling, avalanches, some really dangerous situations where rocks would basically crumble. A lot of people died in this process, but these workers, these early immigrants, kept going. And because they persevered, we were able to have the transcontinental railroad. They were told to get out. They were told they couldn't stay. The early Asian American immigrants faced many discriminatory laws, such as the Chinese Exclusion Act, which basically made it illegal for Chinese American immigrants to be eligible for citizenship. They could not become citizens. They were permanently given the status of aliens. There was also the Foreigners Minors Tax, as well as the Page Act of 1875, and many others. You know what they said to that? They said, we belong here and we will thrive. Yes, we will. And that's exactly what we did. We have Jeremy Lin soaring to high heights. He's one of my favorite basketball stars. He is in the NBA. And I love this quote from Jeremy. When you get your shot, do not hesitate. Don't worry whether anyone else thinks you belong. When you get your foot in that door, kick that door down and then bring others up with you. I love that quote from Jeremy Lin. Next, we have Phillip Veracruz fighting for civil rights. He's a very, very important labor leader and civil rights activist. He was able to organize the farm workers in Delano, California in the 1940s and unionize in order to get better pay, in order to get health care, in order to get housing and things like that. And that was instrumental to us forming the United Farm Workers Union and allowing us to collectively bargain for our rights. Next, we have I.M. Pei will design the sky. I.M. Pei is an incredible architect who has designed some of the most iconic buildings around the world, such as the Louvre Museum in Paris, as well as the Bank of China Tower in Hong Kong. And here in the United States, he has designed the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston. Not everybody wanted him to design all these buildings. Some people were really skeptical. What is a Chinese man doing designing the Louvre Museum in Paris? A lot of people in France were very nervous about that, but he proved to everyone that he could do such an amazing job with his innovation, with his execution, and with his vision that architecture should be for everyone. And he actually set up a scholarship for Asian American architect students. Next, we have Franklin Chang Diaz, a NASA astronaut jetting off to space. Franklin Chang Diaz is a Costa Rican Chinese American astronaut, and he has actually tied for the most number of space flights of any human being, aside from Jerry Ross. So he has been to space the most. And it wasn't always easy for Franklin. When he was in high school, he got a scholarship. When he graduated high school, he got a scholarship to go to the University of Connecticut for a full scholarship. However, when they found out that he was not a US citizen yet at the time, they wanted to take back his scholarship, and they said, you can't get this scholarship. And he was devastated because without the scholarship, he can't go to college. So he rallied his high school teachers, and they all wrote letters, and finally UConn decided to let him come and give him a one-year scholarship. But that was enough to get his foot in the door, and he worked really, really hard to achieve his dream of being an astronaut. Next, we have Tammy Duckworth and Kamala Harris, our VP, of course, will defend our country and serve the people. Tammy Duckworth is an amazing human being. She is the first Thai American to be in the US Senate. She's also the first female double amputee. She lost both her legs during her time serving in the military. She's also the first senator to give birth while in office. And she actually is very, very, very important because a lot of times when people interview her, they ask her to hide her wheelchair, to not show it. And here is what she has to say about that. Tammy Duckworth says, people always want me to hide my wheelchair in pictures. I say no. I earned this wheelchair. It's no different from a medal I wear on my chest. Why would I hide it? And I love that about her. Next, we have Peter Tsai, a scientist who invented the N95 face mask, allowing us to protect our loved ones. The N95 face mask, as you can remember from the pandemic, it was very instrumental to getting our healthcare workers to be able to get through the pandemic. And it's a very, very intricate mask it's got lots of layers and basically traps all of the virus. So it's pretty cool that he invented that. Next, we have Mamie Tape will strive for equality. Mamie Tape was only 8 years old, a girl in San Francisco, when she wanted to go to school, but her school did not want her to go to the school. It was back in 1885, and they said, you cannot come here because you're Chinese. Well, her parents decided to sue the school and decided to say, this is completely unfair. And they took their lawsuit all the way up to the California Supreme Court, which actually ruled that yes, Chinese kids should be allowed to go to school. This was an instrumental lawsuit. However, the schools were still pretty segregated at the time, and it wouldn't be for another 70 years until Brown versus Board of Education when we would finally understand and accept that segregation is not okay. Next, we have Fred Korematsu. Fred Korematsu is an activist who resisted the Japanese internment order during World War II, and he stood up to injustice. The Japanese internment order was an executive order during World War II to take Japanese people, anybody who was of Japanese descent, from their home and put them in an internment camp. And Fred Korematsu said, no, I'm not doing that. That's not okay. And he refused and he resisted and he was thrown in jail for many, many years. But eventually in 1998, he was given the Presidential Medal for Freedom. And he says, if you see something wrong, speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. We have Vera Wang, will look good while doing it. She's an amazing fashion designer. She's designed so many beautiful gowns for the Met Gala, the Oscars, the Grammys, weddings, you name it. We have Leah Cerrillo, who's my favorite ballerina. She's a Filipino-American ballerina. She dances from her soul. She dances with the Boston Ballet Company. She's amazing. And it actually happens to be her birthday today. So happy birthday, Leah. Next, we have Jenny Han, will write breathtaking, amazing stories. Jenny Han is a YA author. She's written several books, and some of them have been made into movies. We have Amanda Nguyen, who's such an inspiring social entrepreneur and activist. She is speaking truth to power. She was the one who made a whole bunch of viral videos during the anti-Asian hate situation that was becoming just so prevalent during the pandemic and is still going on today. She made these videos that raised awareness, and she is a very much a personal hero of mine. We have Sandra Oh, of course, an award-winning actress bringing audiences laughter and tears. Sandra can be found on many shows, including Grey's Anatomy. And we have Sunisa Lee, an Olympic gold medalist gymnast. She is bringing us all-round hope. She is the first Hmong Olympic gold medalist for gymnastics for the US team, and she is so wonderful. She's such an inspiration because she had to sustain many injuries as well as a lot of hardship to get to where she is. We'll daydream through our fingers. We have Yo-Yo Ma, a very famous cello player. Right next to her, R&B singer and songwriter, and she is singing her heart out. And oh, how we will cook glorious meals that bring us together to celebrate all the things that make us unique. We have Padma Lakshmi. She is an author, an activist, a chef. She's on TV a lot, talking about food. Food is my favorite part about the Asian American culture, the Asian American experience. It's something I love because I love eating dim sum. I love eating dumplings during Lunar New Year. I love eating long life noodles, which are these super long noodles that my mom makes on birthdays. And I love that we can bond together and sit at the table and share our stories and pass down our traditions whenever we have these big family dinners. For we can be anything. All we have to do is dream it. I love this picture. The other thing about this book that is so special is that we have 15 acclaimed Asian American illustrators who drew for this book. So the styles, as you can see, are really different, but they're so breathtaking, every single one of these pictures. And here we have, a musician, a chef, activist, astronauts, everybody you can think of. The sky is the limit, and that is what I hope you guys understand from this book, is that you should dream big. Repeat after me. Yes, we will dream big and believe in our dreams. Growing up, I didn't always know if I could be an author. I came to this country when I was 6 years old. I didn't speak a single word of English, and I often wondered whether I could do it. And I am here to tell you that I absolutely can do it, and that is in fact what I did, and so can you. So thank you so much for reading with me. I'm so excited to bring Sophia back on, or actually, sorry, what is the order? I think, yes, Sophia's gonna come back on, and then we're gonna do a selfie.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. I am so inspired by your book and the examples of persistence and bravery and impact that you just celebrated. And you're right, the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. It is almost question time, so everyone make sure you are submitting your questions in the live event Q&A. And before we get to your wonderful questions, let's take a selfie with Kelly so we can all remember this moment together. So I'll give everyone some time to set up, and while you do, make sure you share these photos with us on social. You can tag us at Flipgrid, and also be sure to tag at Penguin Class as well. Okay, are you ready? We're gonna have 15 seconds to take a photo. So everyone get in your spots, get ready, smile big, and we are gonna start now. Woo! Can't wait to see these photos later. Smile big. Woo! All right, that was awesome, everyone. Hope you got some great photos and we want to see them. So tag us when you post them on social and also tag Penguin Class and Flipgrid. And now let's get to your questions. What an amazing opportunity to get to ask a question directly to Kelly and get her answer. So Kelly, you mentioned that you didn't always know if you could be an author. And Grayson from Mrs. Race's fourth grade class has a question about that topic. Grayson was wondering, is it hard to be an Asian American writer?
Well, it was very hard when I was starting out because we didn't have a lot of Asian American authors, and even to this day, we don't have as many as I would like. But through our hard work, our perseverance, the fact that you guys are loving some of the books that I have written, you've been able to show these publishers that our stories totally deserve to be told, and that people are ready and excited to listen and read these stories. And because of that, I don't think it's hard anymore. And I think that it's just going to get more and more exciting for the next generation.
Yes, absolutely, Kelly. I believe that your book is inspiring people to write more stories and share their stories as Asian Americans. So thank you so much for paving the way for us. Another question we had was, what are some common misconceptions that you've heard of Asian Americans that you want to share a different perspective on using your book?
Well, one common misconception is that we are a monolith, which means that we are all from one group. We're all from one country. And this is a totally wrong misconception because we are not a monolith. Asian Americans are a humongous group of people from all different countries, all different backgrounds. And that's one thing I love about my book is because we have not only East Asians, but we also have South Asians, Southeast Asians, we have Black Asians. I think that that is the number one misconception that people have. And I'm so excited to correct this misconception and celebrate all the diversity within the AAPI community.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a very important thing to learn, and your book conveys that so powerfully. So thank you. We have another question from Mrs. Meredith's class, and they were wondering, what are your plans for your next book? Clearly, they loved your book so much, they want to hear more from you. Can you let us in on a secret? Like, do you have a next book coming up?
Okay, so I just finished this book, which is out new from here. It is my latest middle grade. It is set during the pandemic, and it is about my experience immigrating over to the US again with my kids for the second time during this very strange period that we've been living through. My next book is this YA novel, Private Label. It comes out in a few weeks, and it is about a girl whose mom runs a huge fashion company, but her mom suddenly gets cancer, and this girl has to take over the company. And it's very, very romantic and exciting. It is a YA romance, so it's a little different from me. I'm also super excited to announce that we have a fourth front desk book coming out in September. Yay! So fans of Mia Tang, get ready, because I love the fourth book. It's so good. It's called Key Player, and we'll have that out soon.
Oh my gosh, Kelly, I am so excited just to hear that there's so many more amazing stories coming from you, and I'm sure that everyone who's tuning in is excited as well. And I see so much excitement in the chat. We are getting so many questions about the Asian American experience, and this is great because Penguin Young Readers has created a collection of Flipgrid topics in honor of today's event. It is as easy as launching your browser and typing in aka.ms/YesWeWill. This will take you directly to today's collection called Kelly Yang, Yes We Will. So let's choose one of these topics. And then you'll see this guide and a discussion prompt that your students can use to reflect and respond to. And you'll notice a small blue button that says Add Topic. You can choose to add this topic to a group, create a new group, or save it for later. And you can think of a group as your classroom. And now let's talk about what your students will see. So this is what your students will see as they begin to reflect on that topic and submit their own video responses to share their learning. They can have fun using all the new creative effects and expressions inside the Flipgrid camera. If you haven't seen them yet, please be sure to check them out. Remember, you can use these in your classroom immediately following today's event as a follow-up activity, and we will post that link in the chat for you to copy and paste. And now it's time to get to more of your questions. So Mrs. Potter's 4th grade class is tuning in, and they were wondering, how did you feel when you read this book to your daughter, and did she like it?
Oh my goodness, yes, she was so happy. She couldn't believe that this idea that I've been working on finally is in the form of a book, and that was so inspiring for her. And she's a dancer, so she loved the picture of Leah, who's an amazing ballerina. She loved the picture of all of the people in this book and the stories. There's a lot of back matter, and we were just talking about it. So your students can take one of these people in the story and do a deep dive and actually do some research. And I think we have some of those resources also on the Flipgrid website.
Yes, that is a great idea for continuing the conversation and continuing to get to know and celebrate these Asian Americans who have made such an impact on our country. All right, we have so many more questions. Miss Bond's class from California was wondering, where are you from? You mentioned living in SF for a while, but they wanted to get to know where else you've lived.
So I grew up in Southern California, and I did go to school in Berkeley. So I lived in the Bay Area for a number of years, and I'm recently back in LA. But I am going to San Francisco like later today. So if you're joining me from San Francisco, you can come meet me tomorrow at Book Passage in the Ferry Building. I will be there at 11. I will also be in Berkeley at the Bay Area Book Festival at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing opportunity. I'm jealous of all the people who are in San Francisco. Wow, I know that writing this book must have taken a lot of heart and effort and bravery too. And so Mrs. Pearson's class was wondering, who supported you as an author?
Oh, that's such a great question. My teachers and librarians supported me the most because my parents are first-generation immigrants. They didn't really speak a lot of English, so it was hard for them to support my goal of being an author in English. But I had these amazing librarians who really believed in me, and they guided me with each book, and that's all it takes. I also had some great teachers as well as ESL teachers who told me, just because you're struggling now doesn't mean that's always going to be the case, and your voice matters. We want to hear what you have to say.
That is amazing. And I think those are such reminders for anyone pursuing something difficult that they care about, whether it's writing a book or being an illustrator or really anything else. And Miss Lamont's 5th grade class, they have a question for you, and they are from Great Oak School. They were wondering, which one of your characters is your favorite? I'm sure it's hard to pick, but which one is your favorite?
Oh, wow. That's such a good question. I will say that I am such a huge fan of Jeremy Lin. I think that he has, said some really amazing pieces of advice and wisdom in this book. So I really encourage you to check that out. And Phillip Veracruz as well. I just know how important what he did was, because the fact of the matter is, individually, there's only so much we can do, but collectively, we're so powerful. And that's what he realized. And that was huge, instrumental, not only for farm workers, but all over the nation for everyone. And I just want to celebrate that amazing accomplishment that he was able to organize so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how this is a celebration of not just individuals, but the individuals that these people collaborated with to make these amazing things happen. Yeah. So we've talked about your process of writing the book. Wanted to dig into more of the details. Miss Marintette's class, 4th and 5th grade class, was wondering, how long does it typically take you to write a book?
Okay, so for one of my novels, it actually takes me a few months to write one draft, but sometimes I have to go back and completely revise that draft and completely rewrite it. So for any of you guys listening, if you ever have to revise or edit and you might be frustrated with that experience, just remember it is totally normal. It's something every author has to do. In fact, I really love revision now, and I always tell kids this, I think that writing is rewriting. So it takes me, I would say, maybe like a year altogether.
Wow, that is a big commitment, and you came out with something so beautiful that we get to enjoy. So thank you for writing and rewriting and putting so much heart and thought into your books. There's another question from Great Oak, Miss Callalane's class, 5th grade class, and they're wondering how long did it take to write Front Desk, and what were some highlights in the process of writing that?
Yeah, so I originally wrote Front Desk in the summer of, I think, 2015 for my son, Elliot, who wasn't really reading much at the time. And I wanted him to find that perfect book that would just make him fall in love with reading. At the same time, I had never told him how I grew up, the fact that I grew up in a motel. And that was what I did when I was a kid. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to kind of tell him both and give him both opportunities to learn about me and to fall in love with reading. And I wrote Front Desk that summer. It probably took me 3 whole drafts though before it was finally ready to be published, because it takes a lot of courage to be able to write from your heart. And sometimes you don't get it on the first try. Sometimes you don't get it on the second try, but it's okay to keep trying. And it's really important that you don't give up.
That's a really important lesson, and I would love to hear more about, in this long process of researching amazing people and figuring out who to work with, what are some of your favorite things that you learned from writing Yes, We Will?
Oh my gosh, I learned so much. First of all, I learned that these people not only had to break through barriers in their professions, but also emotionally and, psychologically, because a lot of times when we can't see people who look like us doing the things we want to do, we worry. We have this incredible self-doubt. Like, is it even possible? Should I even try? I don't see a lot of astronauts, or I don't see a lot of musicians, or so on. And these people conquered that fear. And that is why it's so important to put them all in a book so that kids can see. They can see that there's no dream that's too big, that they can do it. So some of the things I've learned was, Mamie Tape and her family trying to fight for their right to have their daughter go to school. And the newspapers at the time ran ads, and people were really angry. And they ran ads in San Francisco, which is, pretty shocking that this happened. And they ran ads calling her, that Chinese girl, like, how dare she? And yet they persevered. They really, they had this courage. They had this drive. It was compelling them to do this, even though it was really hard. It put the family through a lot of pain, but because it was so important for them to tell everyone, actually, we contribute to this country and we deserve to go to school. And I love that they kept going, and they actually won their lawsuit.
Wow, that is an amazing example of persistence. And thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing these stories with us, for sharing your process in writing these amazing books. I cannot thank you enough for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your expertise. Is there any final words that you want to share with everyone?
I want to share that I want you guys, everyone listening, to be one of these books when you grow up. I can't wait to see all the things you're going to accomplish. I hope you get to know these trailblazers so that you can be one yourself.
Thank you, Kelly. You are a trailblazer in our eyes. Thank you for writing this book about other trailblazers. Today has been so special. Thank you again for spending this time with us. We are so grateful and so excited for all the discussions that will be had in classrooms all around the world. And with that, I want to share that we have these amazing Flipgrid Live events every single week. We have an awesome lineup, and we would love for you to join us as we keep learning together. You can head to aka.ms/Flipgrid Live events for more information and to register for upcoming events. And don't forget to check out the topic of the day It's live now on Penguin Young Readers Discovery Library page. With that, thank you again, Kelly, for being with us. Thank you all our learners from around the world for tuning in, for taking a selfie, for asking these insightful questions. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Thank you so much, Flipgrid. Thank you, everyone.